welcome to the Squarebase Show with your host, Rob and Val. And today we are going to be doing a preview of the preview, where we're going to talk about what might be coming out very soon.
Preview time.
It's a very exciting time. I think, straight up, before I've posted this video and it's been online for 8 seconds and someone types, it's Cathay, kind of get that out of the way. We might be seeing on the preview, we might be seeing more Cathay, but all that's the general hype. But that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to be talking about what we've been up to, and we are going to be talking about what might be coming out in the preview, and also a kind of like look at or a chat about what we might see next year as well for the old world, which is pretty pumped. But before we do any of that,
speculation.
Yeah, a little speculation, just a little conversation. So before we do any of that, though, Val, how have you been?
I think I've been doing just fine. Thank you for asking. I've was mentioning to you earlier this week that I finally sort of got through. Feels like it's been since September that every week I've just had a lot of very urgent things that I need to accomplish very quickly, and that I don't want to do because they're urgent and yelling at me. So it was very ADHD unfriendly stretch for old Val, and we're coming through it. And now I get to basically gear up and get ready for Cali Cup next week, not this weekend, but the following weekend, 14th, 15th, 16th. Yeah, it's all clear skies. I got to figure out what to play. I don't even know what I'm playing.
Well, we should talk about that. We should figure that out on the show. One thing I do know that you've been doing is you've been printing or 3D printing some new models, right, for the army, or am I making that up? Were you trying?
Well, I needed to get my printers. Printers require love and affection, a little TLC, and so I needed to get those up and running. I haven't had a resin printer functioning for some time.
Oh,
and so I'm pleased to say that it looks like my resin printer is fired up and running again. And I'm gonna, I think, start printing off various Empire bits that I don't have. There's some beautiful war wagons from Highland Miniatures that are like, well, they're basically just bootlegs of the war wagon. But so yeah, I'm gonna print a couple of them off. Gonna maybe print off a couple Griffins so I can have some linebacker type characters. Road Wardens from Last Sword Miniatures. Beautiful minis. And then I've got 1 billion Outriders, like actual Outriders to chop up, because I don't know of any like STL Outriders that I really love over and above what the main kit is. So anyway, lots of cool stuff to do, because I'd love to run that. I'd love to run Null or just get Empire going again, because I do love my dudes, my barefoot dudes.
Just the lads.
The lads.
I've actually been 3D printing Mournfang over the weekend.
Mournfang is this is one of the best things you can 3D print, because the various Mournfang out there, there's a lot of creative alternative mounts. I've seen hippopotamuses. I've seen crocodiles. What about you? What is your Mournfang?
I'm printing. So there's actually initially, shout out to a designer called Clay Beast Creation. Now, Clay Beast Creation, I have been a subscriber for I don't know, a couple of years at least. And what's really exciting about Clay Beast, and because I spoke to them very recently, they are transitioning or like kind of start creating renders so you can see all of their minis on round bases, because they basically have been doing AOS armies for the past 2, 3, maybe 4 years, actually. It might be that long. And so they have like a fantastic Beast of Chaos range, a fantastic Demons range. They also have a fantastic Ogre range as well. So it's the Ogres from them that I am putting on to bases. And yeah, they're really fantastic. And definitely, they're some of my favorite, like, might just straight up be my favorite army designer. What I mean by that is there's also obviously people that make really amazing 3D sculpts, like Archvillain Games makes really amazing 3D sculpts. But what I love about Clay Beast is they're like, oh, if you can take every if this unit has spears, then the spears, here's a hand weapon option, if they had a hand weapon option. Now, obviously, they're not designed in the same way Highland is, in that they're designed like specifically to rank up. What I mean is like, everything in the range has a model pretty much. So there's like a Treeman range, a Demon range, a Beastman range, I think there's like a Skeleton range. I think that might be more like kind of Vampire Cat, Soulblight, Gravelord sort of thing. But yeah, amazing Lizardmen as well. Amazing Lizardmen.
I've never heard of Clay Beast. I can't wait to go deep into this catalog. I love a new STL because I kind of have my faves, right? Like I kind of have the guys who and always on the spot. Well, I mentioned Last Sword. I think Last Sword is really good, humanoid, like Warhammer Fantasy style. If you just want something that's close to the sort of 6th, 7th edition style, very, very simple sculpts. I think Highlands is always very good. They're known for their dwarves, but they do lots of other things as well. They look very plain in render, but then I think they look quite good on the tabletop and they fit in really well, but you do have to scale them down. And then Avatars of War, I think is just my top of the charts favorite sculptor. I think he's a former GW guy. Very classic. They've made in the past. They've done some actual plastic kits, but they've got fabulous orc stuff. I've been meaning to print up a whole lot of the Wolf Riders off of them. They do a great Wyvern, and then final one would be Titan Forge. Although Titan Forge has gone weird. It's
become this is what I mean. Like Titan Forge used to do army ranges and then moved into doing more like RPG style stuff, which is kind of what Archvillain does as well. And really, Clay Beast is one of the few kind of designers that's holding the line and doing like, I'm going to provide everything to war game with.
Yes. Well, I will say Titan Forge has like they did like a whole range of undead orcs for some reason. And I actually unsubscribed. I was like, I'm literally never going to use these guys. But they've this month they're going to Kislev. So they got a bunch of like bear riding dudes. Yeah, so like looks like a good Empire Kislev proxy. So those would be my 4 chestnuts. I'd say I'd be subscribed to those 4 more often than not.
Not to be a drama farmer, because I specifically don't want to do that. But there's also been a kind of encroachment by Games Workshop into the space. There you go. This is the models I printed out. These are so riding on some bears. You can always tell it's a Clay Beast sculpt because it does this kind of like green render, which is very specific, which I think looks quite cool. Reminds you of like the old sculpts. When it was all literally done in green stuff. So I think that's quite fun. Also, big fan because he always makes this is a very specific 3D print chat. I apologize for everybody who's excited about but he always does a very deep lines in the sculpts. So when you 3D print it, if you don't have a great resolution printer or if you generally just haven't nailed your 3D prints, you get a lot of blooming and stuff. There's normally enough of a gap for like washes and recesses. Sometimes, like you just think of like a trim on a shoulder pad. If the trim is too like shallow, it can kind of just get locked in. But he normally makes quite deep cuts, and actually that's really good. Also, especially good if you're a slap chopper like me. You're a slap chopper.
Yeah, you need that. You need some of that some of those raised details for the slap chopping to take effect.
Yes,
which is excellent.
Yeah,
that's great. I can't wait to dive in there. I think I can't wait to go look at Clay Beast. Yeah, you tend to err more. You like more like I know you like a lot of Lost Kingdom stuff. I know like so you like stuff that has a more of a higher fantasy flair. I do like my old school GW coded stuff.
I just think so. I really like. There's also another designer called Best Area Miniatures who does a lot of like body horror, like monster stuff. I also like that
like stuff.
Yeah, Dark Souls, kind of like Eastern European, kind of like The Witcher style, style, which I think is also very cool as well. So it's just whatever takes my fancy. I look at a range and I think that's really cool. So I think maybe while I think everyone is excited about, like the new Marauders are a good example. The new Marauders came out and they've got a very specific style, but I wouldn't say that they have an old style of Games Workshop, which is what I think maybe a lot of people in the old world are attracted to, is the older style. Whereas I'm like, I like the new Marauders, and I wouldn't say that they feel like that they're old. Like, obviously they look old world, but I wouldn't say that they're the old style of old world or fantasy. I don't think.
Yeah, no. I think they are grounded. I think a lot more in a realism rather than. I think sort of like the older style of fantasy, like they always talk about like heroic scale, which is like big hands, big heads. About 28 millimeter bodies with like 32 millimeter hands and heads is essentially what it is. And now I think they've gone to sort of a very across the board 32 millimeter scale. That's what like Sigmar and 40K tend to be around, and then now very grounded in that reality. Which also, I think SDS was always like that too. Like their sculpts have always been very much like look a window into, almost more like that scale model perspective. When you look at even the old Imperial armor, the Warhammer Forged stuff for fantasy, like they are things that look like they could actually be there. They're scaled correctly. They're just, I don't know. They're more like representations of something in image form rather than a cartoon version of it or like an approximation of it. So I do enjoy that style from SDS/Forge World.
Yeah, the drama I didn't want to bring up, but also right now, Games Workshop seems to be going after a couple of 3D designers and bringing Gamak, but also they early on into the launch of the Old World also went after Lost Kingdom and made them bring down most of their dwarf stuff as well, their Chaos Dwarf stuff.
The Chaos Dwarf stuff, yes.
Yeah, it was Chaos Dwarf stuff. So we're in interesting times on that front as well, at least.
One of the best ways to know what's coming from Games Workshop is pay attention to your various community creators and resources and see who's getting cease and desisted.
Yeah, an unfortunate thing.
Genuinely, like World itself. Oh, have I broken up there? So Old World itself was presaged by Warhammer Armies Project was cease and desisted. I want to say somewhere around 6 months. 6 months to a year before Old World dropped. We joked at the time that was Old World being confirmed, and it was. Chaos Dwarves, I think that Lost Kingdom stuff, they had stuff pulled down like somewhere around a year ago. So just as they're getting ready to release something, if there's something in market that's sort of community adjacent that they feel is on the edge of something that they could defend or at least hit with a takedown or something like that, they will. It tells you where they're going. They blew up War Master too, the unofficial War Master. So maybe we're not going to get boats, but maybe we'll get epic Old World at some point.
I think now that they know they've got the technology to do Imperialis, we are absolutely going to be seeing the epic. Yes, I think that's absolutely. I think that's a no-brainer in many ways.
When they hired Rick Moranis, you knew that it was probably a good indication that they were developing shrinking technology and that soon Epic would be returning.
Let's go. That's a deep cut. That's a deep cut for many people who might not know who Rick Moranis is.
Canadian legend.
He's a Canadian legend. Right. Okay. So to cease and desist this conversation and move us into the realms of this weekend, join us live on twitch.tv/The Honest Wargamer for the reveal show.
The real reveal show.
The real reveal show. So we will be live stream reacting, which we have done since the very dark days of pre-lockdown or just around lockdown. So we've revealed them all, which is pretty fun. We have our own little game system. We got to guess how many books are going to be revealed, how many minis are going to be revealed, who's going to be doing it. Weird flex, but I expect there to be skydiving in this one.
So here's the thing: if you haven't seen it yet, there's a sort of a produced on location video. I guess they went to the local aerodrome or airfield and they borrowed someone's Cessna and shot a little like we're going to America type video. Makes me feel like they're not actually going to be on location. But what do you think? Do you think they're actually going to be in doing a live show at the Warhammer World Championships?
No, I think it'll all be pre-recorded, absolutely. But I think the plane is because of a promo video that's being made, I think, to announce their new paint range, which I think is that's an incredibly specific guess if I end up being right. Almost like I know. It's what I would say. But who knows?
Where are they going to take paint technology? I actually would be curious to see.
Dropper bottles?
Dropper bottles.
Dropper bottles, I think, is an obvious choice, mainly because it makes you basically rebuy your collection. And I assume renaming everything, repackaging everything, and basically doing an entire upgrade would be now. Obviously, I could be wrong. No one gets too stressed about it, but I would expect it because you drop from a plane
into the dropper bottle. Now, I will say this, Rob, as someone who was in the middle of repotting I don't know, 100, 200 Games Workshop paints into dropper bottles.
Yeah.
And then about like halfway through that slog, thinking to myself, what kind of an idiot am I? This is the stupidest waste of my life ever. And I just entirely switched to Army Painter, which they seem to care about people using their paints. So so now I just have a shelf of Army Painter.
Yeah.
I'm not Citadel pilled anymore when it comes to paints, which is lovely.
2 things for new hobbyists just down below. You should put down in the comments your favorite 3D sculptor and who you like for paints, because we talked about that, and also your favorite paints. Paints, also don't forget that Squarebase has never been sponsored or affiliated by anybody. I also have an Army Painter set at home, and also I use Monument paints. So those are pretty much my 2, also what they're called Pro Acryl. Those are pretty much the 2 paints that I use. And actually, I think available now in North America, I might be making this up, I don't know, but ColorForge. So I used to be a Games Workshop Chaos Black purist on the paints for the for base coating, but actually best base coat paint I've found now is ColorForge Matte Black. So I don't know if they sell that now in the US or in North America, but all Monument have done a deal with them. So if you are getting a Monument Matte Black, it might be the same. I don't know.
You know what I use? What? I use Home Depot like Rust-Oleum Black.
Okay.
Matte. Guess what? I'm pretty sure it's the same shit. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's the same shit as all the other shit, just with a different label.
Yeah, my problem is I spend time with a professional painter almost every day. So, I don't get to cheat. Like, I'm like, I could use that. And then she's like, obviously, no, that you're not allowed to use that. So I'm like, okay.
And I know you're not an airbrush guy, but my absolute, look at us hobbyists. My absolute favorite primer is, and I don't know how to say it, but it's something along the lines of Stinrizles. And I think it's made by Badger itself, which is an airbrush company. And by far, like, that is the most satisfying primer I've ever used. Incredible stuff.
Yeah, okay. Well, and also, Coat Paint got new paints out. We could talk about hobby all day, but again, if you've got a good suggestion for paints in the future, and I don't think
I got about 5 to 10 minutes of hobby in me. We probably used up about all of the hobby information I know. And
I think, unfortunately, neither of us would say that we are experts in this field.
No, I mean, sometimes, I'm an expert in a field, depending on where I'm standing and what I'm talking about, but that's about it.
Okay, so moving on, Old World specifically, what do you expect, ignoring that I've told you already, what do you expect and hope to see from the reveal coming up on Friday?
Well, I think...
Because this is actually a big deal, I think.
Yes, it is, because we're in uncharted uncharted territory.
Yeah.
Waters.
And as a captain of a boat, about sailing us through.
Skipper of a vessel.
Yeah.
I do know about charts adjacently. However, I think what's cool about this is that, like, while apparently it is Cathay, and that's kind of hard to work around that when trying to guess. First of all, I would say it's cool that it could literally be anything. That's the greatest thing about the Marauders announcement. And the fact that it's sort of coming soon is that, I feel like the Marauders will probably appear before Christmas. That would be my guess based on how it was announced. Usually those kinds of things are within a month or so. We'll see. And then after that, so like we're probably looking at the preview for January, which is nuts.
Yeah.
And because of Marauders, so if it's Cathay, neat. But also, it could be anything. It could be the Dogs of War that we thought was coming. It could be an expansion of Norskin stuff. It's fun that, like, looking forward into 2026, the sort of like all bets are on. Like, literally everything that we could hope for could be coming, which is neat. So yeah. Now, what about you? What do you think it
which is a show that we're going to do next week, right? Like, we're gonna be talking about that. What do I think it could be? I agree with you. I think we're going to see the Marauder stuff much sooner than people think, which is actually pretty interesting, because it means it gives people to build, paint, and a hobby kind of over the Christmas period. So January, we start to see this big new the kind of impact in the gaming meta from a new Chaos army. If it's as like kind of light touch as we saw with Tomb Kings in The Wrath of Cetra, but if it actually is more expansive, and it does look like it's written like in the community article we talked about, it looks like it's more expansive, right? Like different armies, different things. So if it does end up being that expansive, you can end up with maybe some different threatening armies that we look at over kind of January. And if the rumored FAQ, because there is now, ladies and gentlemen, reset the clock, a rumored FAQ on the horizon. If the rumored FAQ that is coming out soon does amend some of the army's power levels, then you've got a pretty interesting January. But I think we definitely can expect Cathay, which is actually kind of shocking.
That is a very, very quick turnaround on a second wave for an army like Cathay. Can you off the top of your head, can you think of something like that, or like
what models we'd like to see?
Well, no, just a second wave that is like within 4 or 5 months. Usually that's a year or two and like if you look at like Votan in 40K, probably had a similar launch amount of models as Cathay did. I can't think of necessarily something in AOS.
So Lumineth had that for AOS, but I think this is more of a specific thing. Because SDS is quite different, right? I think what we're seeing is maybe an early reaction to. I think Cathay was probably in the pipeworks when the first edition of this launch of Old Hammer launched. Old World launch. And then what I expect to happen is that they were like, okay, just expand the range, because the Old World release or the Cathay release that we got was actually kind of perfect in Games Workshop terminology. They normally, if they're doing something new, is like between like 10 and 12 kits, which I think there's probably good evidence that that's probably the max people can take in. Anything more expansive, and then move on a couple of months later and drop 4 or 5 new kits, however many it ends up being. I think that's something that's slightly more palatable. I think for a lot of people, though, I think they'll be in two camps. I think the reaction to maybe new Cathay will be like a two-tone reaction. Cathay players, or maybe a lot of people will be like, oh my God, new models, that's really exciting. But also a lot of people will be like, had a lot of Cathay this year, feel a bit of Cathay fatigue. Why didn't it come out at the same time? Also, why am I only getting my new models 4 months later? What about my army? What about my Tomb Kings? What about that? I think
they haven't fixed their foibles from the first attempt at Cathay, which is wild to me.
Miniature-wise, there's no foibles. You mean the rules?
No, the rules. Yeah, I think the maybe there's a chance here to right the ship a little bit by, if it is Cathay, also explicitly saying, by the way, guys, we heard you. We're gonna come back and make some adjustments so that you're not embarrassed to play Cathay at club night, or whatever. Or because there's a serious buzzkill around Cathay that shouldn't exist, and I think could easily be addressed. The rules are, I think, actually really, really awesome and fun and interesting and great to get on the table. There's just some overwhelming mechanics that inexplicably not fixed. It's just absolutely. I do not understand why they wouldn't have very quickly made an adjustment or modification to some of the things with Cathay.
Yes.
And then you're also going to have a third book. I mean, if there's more stuff coming out, then you have, what would be a third book. Although I guess the second Cathay book did include artifacts and an army of infamy. So the J Fleet was in there. So, there will be a need for a third book potentially if you want to play Cathay. That's always going to make people grumpy, even though the rules are easily found and available everywhere.
Yeah, I think I think you're right. I think there's definitely like a tonal problem that is going to be very different to the excitement of the launch in the summer. Even if the models are stunning, which they have been knockout stunning every step of the way. And I think that also adding. I expect to see kind of like, missile infantry. I expect something along those lines. I think that's probably crane gunners and stuff like that is very likely to be what we see. Maybe Longmire cavalry, don't know. I think that's probably unlikely, but maybe. People are going to be like, wow, that's a very fleshed out army. But I think that what's good about that is that kind of just closes the door now. At that point, you've got everything you need for a full-rounded Cathay army. Then moving into 2026, we've got a bumper year, I think, if the Marauders are anything to go by. So, you're very likely to see a couple of kits every, I think even every 2 months to 4 months is very likely. So you've got a very bumper time period there, which I think is pretty good.
The release pace for Old World to date has been about every 2 months, right? So that has essentially been what it has been. So I don't see why they would, with the success they've had, slow that down, and especially if they're comfortable with the sort of almost Citadel journal like arcane journals being released with sort of neat little things in them, a little advancement of lore, maybe some new rules or something supporting a faction or whatever. They can just incrementally inch this thing along until they're ready to go to a second edition at whatever point that might be in the future.
Yeah, I think which I'm excited about. I think it's really fun. I think, I'm interested. Let me know in the comments below what you think your reaction is going to be if it does end up being Cathay, as the rumors are true. But beyond that, I do wonder if this is quite an interesting time. Is it going to be a very punchy reveal? Here's a bunch of stuff, or are they going to roadmap a bunch of stuff? Because, like you said, every one of the game systems is now at the end of a roadmap. There's no roadmap for any of the game systems. So, is this going to be hey, stick with us through Christmas, give us our 2026 kind of timeline, or do you think we'll see that more towards the new year?
So I think, if I'm not mistaken, the legendarily hilarious and bad roadmap that we got last year was from this preview, where the roadmap included the Warriors of Chaos and Dwarves, which had already been released. And that basically gave us the first quarter of releases into 2025. I think it could be cool if they do give some form of a roadmap, and hopefully it's a useful one. And also because, again, there's no explicit faction that's remains unseen aside from like Kislev, which we've heard. I don't know if you've heard. I haven't seen anything concrete on Kislev.
I think we're so unlikely to see Kislev in the next couple of years. Unless big things change. I think that's kind of my hot take. I think we're very unlikely. I think Cathay was the one they went for. I think there's a bunch of reasoning that we saw with the marketing. China's a big market. Give the opportunity to expand into China. And then I think it's going to be refreshing a bunch of stuff, bringing that up to date. And again, like we said, we're seeing the knock-on effects of this incredibly successful meteoric rise of the old world, its success, and them not really having big plans. So now we're seeing the impact of, I think what we've actually seen from the past year has been the kind of wasteland of the big plans being I think what we've seen is a bunch of stuff not come out over the past year because it was meant to arrive in a smaller format, like Necromunda. Maybe it was all meant to be like resin little kits and just little bits, and it wasn't meant to be a big deal because that's how it got marketed, that's how it got announced, and then we know that it's crazy, so crazy. And I think what we're now at the end of this kind of wasteland of releases. Maybe we saw all those arcane journals. I feel like the reason they were written, if you read some of the arcane journals, I think Beastmen, I think Wood Elves, I think maybe High Elves, they read weird. And kind of having looked at them since the Marauder stuff, I've gone back and looked at it. It looks like stuff was cut out.
Sure.
It looks
there's weird scalpel marks all over the game. Legacy factions are one glaring example of that, where whatever maybe the original vision was certainly scaled down. I do believe Cathay was in the original vision.
It was,
and also if we even look at the last arcane journal that we got for Cathay, it has the Jade Fleet bringing in mercenary options from the Empire, which at the time when we were reviewing it, that felt like to me to be like a way of saying it's incomplete. You have half an army, but here's a way to round out your forces and have a Cathayan army that has, missile infantry if that's what you want, or some different options in there to round it out. And now, if we're already seeing Wave 2, I suspect this is something that was maybe greenlit hastily, somewhere around a year and a half ago, right?
Yeah.
And I feel the same way about like Renegade Crowns, with the random Tomb King, general character in there.
Absolutely.
And then out of nowhere, the Marauders. So I think, basically everything since the match play guide basically feels, and not including the Cathayan releases, that this feels like the sort of stuff that got greenlit once they saw, or stuff they scrambled once they saw they needed to fill some time until they can get their design process in pipeline. And eventually, when that's ramped up, it'll just be a hose of content. If Games Workshop in the past is anything like Games Workshop in the future.
Yeah, which is exactly what I'm expecting, or not exactly expecting, but I'm kind of hoping. I think the Cathay thing's kind of a slam dunk, and then I'm hoping we see timelines. If we see would you be excited about a timeline? Comments below. Do you want a timeline? Do you want a timeline?
Yeah. I would love a teaser. Like that roadmap, I think too, is where we first were able to confirm Cathay as well. Yeah. Because I think that was where they had the sort of we saw the floating islands in the background.
Absolutely.
So something where they leave some nice, delicious Easter eggs in there would be great. An idea of what's coming in the first quarter would be great. I'd love to see that. And also, I mean, I kind of poo-pooed the Cathayan launch, gave some credit to the people out there who might be bummed about it, but also be so sick to see the rest of the rest of what we could foresee Cathay to be for a while, see it rounded out, maybe some peasants. Maybe now it's time for the plebs to get on the table. We'll see.
Okay. Listen, if it's peasants, it's the wrong way round. You can't do, if they'd have launched the initial box with peasants, right? And then later on, you got Jade Warriors. That's hype, right? But you can't go Jade Warriors peasants. That's just not going to get the same energy.
Well, your boy Val did call the last time that it wouldn't be peasants, that it would be the Jade Warriors. They would go elite first and then round it out later. So we'll see. And maybe we'll just see they have like crossbow Jade Warriors. I know that's a unit type. I know we reviewed the potential units once before. There's also another cool there's like another sort of golem like statue monster that they could go to.
Yeah.
There's also another dragon kid. Like we could see
there's the compass, there's war drums. Yeah, there's a bunch of options. Yeah, you're right.
So it could be 5. I wonder if we'll see another one of the dragon children. That would be pretty neat.
That would be very neat. The other remaining kind of question mark around this reveal is Dogs of War. They have been a weirdly percolating rumor that's had a lot of energy behind it over the past few months. What are your thoughts about that?
I think it feels to me like they again, things that were missing. There were things missing from the Renegade Crown list that I think on fairly good authority, I think were there before and are no longer there. And we know they do not waste ink. If they type something, it's been cut and pasted somewhere else. And I want to believe that's been cut and pasted into a proper Dogs of War release, a proper sort of thing for the Dogs of War.
Looking at you, Skaven banner.
When you look at the map as well, which we did a really great deep dive into they accidentally tipped their hand last year and released a bunch of the new locations on the map. You see, I think that's a great place for looking at where they may have areas of focus. And one thing they really fleshed out on that, like it's last winter when they accidentally sort of updated the map probably to its final state. Was a lot of Norscan stuff, a lot of stuff in the north there, and what do they call it? The Darklands or the Wastelands?
The Wastelands,
yeah. And then also Tilea, Estalia, Warhammer Spain, and Italy, where the Dogs of War tend to be mostly from, or at least stationed, incredibly fleshed out to a place where they hadn't been, I think, before. In fact, I believe they accidentally may have even lifted some community lore off of Warhammer Wiki to make up some of those places. So that is all to say that they really fleshed that area out. That suggests to me that there's going to be something from there. And then also keeping an eye on Musalan as well, myself.
Yeah.
In Bretonia.
Okay. I think the map might be able something we revisit. Let us know in the comments if you want us to revisit it. Either way.
Love a good map.
I'm super excited to be there with you, and I'm super excited to be there with everyone who wants to join us live, because this feels like it could be like a big deal.
Yes,
a big deal, and I'm kind of pumped to see what we see, because I
love the call out of the roadmap. That actually got me more excited than even just knowing about one set of minis, because the roadmap will provide us with excellent speculative options.
I love that. I think it's really fun. So join us for that. But looking to the future, you're also going to be at the Cali Cup in a couple of weeks, right?
Ooh, yeah, not even a couple of weeks. I think 9 days. 9 days.
Okay.
9 times. Yes. So I leave next Thursday. I mean, assuming there's still an air traffic controller, peeing into a can.
They called in sick today.
Did they all do that? Yeah. So I may not be able to get there, but we'll see. I did not expect this, America. Jesus.
Let the planes fly.
Yeah, it would be good. I've got things to do here, America. Can we just reopen the government for a few days so I can just go play some Warhammer with my friends in California? That'd be really great. But apparently, no. There are bigger things happening out there.
Yes. Okay. Well, so you'll be there, and that is a 30-person Old World event, and you are going to be using the SBC, so the Square-Based Comp, which we made a video about. Yes. Is that correct?
Yes, we will be the first GT tier event, I think, using Square-Based Comp. The only, again, modifications was that High Elves and Creation Warhost went to B tier.
So one of the things that we are going to do for people who are kind of interested, one of the things I think I decided this week, and me and Val are hopefully going to do, is we are going to set a date for when we are going to review and change the SBC. I think that is going to be an important thing, because one of the things I was criticized Games Workshop about is I don't know how far in the future we're going to see an FAQ. And I think if we decide that we, kind of beginning December, or maybe just before before Christmas, we're going to revisit it, review it, so that January, February maybe is under a new new review system, that give people oh, cool, I know I can go to that event, they're going to be running this comp. Then, do you know what I mean? Gives us a good deadline. I think that's really sensible. So we'll update you on the date when we decide a date.
I like that. And I think you have, when's your first comped event happening at the TSN?
Ours is December, actually. So I have, because I put my events up at the TSN in 6-month blocks, it's quite hard to pivot that fast. So I've got an event in December. I think it's now sold out, which is pretty fun, with 26 people. I'm also aiming, touch wood, that it will be an event that I either live stream or record, because the Bat Rep room, if you don't know, we have been working at the TSN Arena on building a room, because we run events, where we can live stream and record games. That is now basically finished. There's a room next to it where all of the technology needs to get put into. So hopefully that might be something that we could do in December. That's kind of what I'm working towards. That's my deadline for myself, which is a little bit more involved. There has to be graphics, overlay stuff, a bunch of different things that need to put in, what people want to see on the screen while a game is happening, a bunch of cool information, as well as some fancy maps and stuff. People love a fancy map, not a symmetrical map.
Not a symmetrical map?
Apparently, no. They're immersion breaking. Doesn't matter. I had a crash out today for 45 minutes. It doesn't matter.
Well, I'm going to be using the TSN symmetrical maps and at the Cali Cup. So
gross. We do not want symmetry. Gross.
And if you want asymmetry, there's also the Square-Based Open Toronto maps. Those are asymmetrical, so you can use those instead if you like. We have both flavors.
Or narrative. Narrative actually is what they are. Narrative. Symmetry, not narrative. Asymmetry, narrative. That's what I've learned.
I'm just going to call them asymmetrical. I don't think they're particularly narrative. Although we could backwards. I mean, I could go and make up some shit if you like.
Are they not immersion breaking by being symmetrical?
Asymmetrical?
I don't know.
Asymmetrical or symmetrical?
I don't know.
Look, whatever. Look.
Listen, I need you to reply. No, if you leave a comment that says asymmetrical terrain is more narrative, I'm just going to block you forever. That's really important. I need you to know. I had a big crash out today, and I don't want to go through it ever again.
I would just give. I know you probably don't need empathy given to these people, but I will say this: that if you
correct, I don't.
If you are a true narrative gamer and you are doing something narratively, I think that the first place you should start is, where the hell is this happening? What is the place? Ground it in an actual place, and why are you there? If you're not answering those two questions, then you're not playing a narrative game.
That's true. What are you doing? And I'm always playing just outside of Middenheim. Just outside.
Just on the outskirts of midnight.
Just that's where I'm playing. The outskirts of Middenheim. And I won't list. Yeah, that's where I'm always playing. All right, cool. Well, I'm really hoping you're not playing at the Cali Cup. Are you just judging?
I am.
Oh,
I am. No, I'm playing. I'm in the field. I will, and I don't know what I'm running. I was going to run my Cathay actually in the comp just to see what was happening there. But Hellfire Minis, Max, one of the greatest sideline reporters of all time, Max Dubois is painting him up, and I just didn't want to rush him, so he's continuing along with the Cathayan project.
Dear God,
and if he doesn't wrap it up, he's going to wind up apparently with a bunch more minis to paint before he's even done the first one. He's going to be just endlessly painting Cathay or Max Dubois. So Hellfire Minis, if you can follow him on Instagram, he's a wonderful man. And then there's so I could run Warriors of Chaos. I might just run the Goblin
Orcs and Goblins
army that Pete ran. I could run Vampire Counts. I know those probably Orcs and Goblins or Vampire Counts. Those are the two armies I could probably run comfortably.
I'm saying Orcs and Goblins. I think Vampire Counts is maybe the wrong side of busted. And I think. But
it's in the comp event. I want to see what happens.
Yeah, I still think maybe there. I don't know, but I would like to. Did you see the stat show I did where we looked at the Danish event where they basically did a soft SBC? Did I talk to you about that?
No.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well,
so was that the last episode? I haven't put it up on
the last episode. Format. There was a Danish event, Denmark, and actually no. So I saw soft SBC. Actually more aggressive. So it's basically a tiered system, and they also had a bunch of kind of like additional restrictions on top as well. Ended up with Demons and Sea Guard winning, which is pretty interesting.
Did they get the full 26? Did they go that far with it?
What, 2,600? Yeah.
Yes. Okay, there you go. Well, that's good. That's a good early indication and result. I could also run Troll Hordes.
No.
Which
I don't want to do that to you, my friend. No.
At 2,600 points, like as we discussed, I think 2,600 points of Troll Hordes is absurd. So I might just do that as a point of demonstration.
Okay,
but then that might feel bad. I don't know.
All right, then prove it to me. It's better than Vampire Counts, I think. Go for one of the weak armies at like the big high points value. Everyone in the comments, let us know what you think. Run Vampire Counts at 2K, which we know is good, or 2,600 of Troll Horde.
Or 2,200 of Orcs and Goblins.
2,200 Orcs and Goblins is so good. 2,200 Orcs and Goblins.
It really is good.
That's very good. Yeah.
It's very good.
Yeah, but also I kind of want to hear you pissed off at me on the Saturday in a voice note. Be like, I failed every stupidity test. I hate you, Robbo. I fucking hate you, Robbo. Why am I in America? Failing
Oh Lordy Lou. Oh Lordy Lou. I put Orcs and Goblins back when Old World dropped. I was playing nothing but ONG, and I put them back on the shelf because my heart couldn't handle it. My heart could not handle the swings of Orcs and Goblins. That's why I went to the evil Vampire Counts, because they were a lot more stable, a lot more dependable.
This is good.
Also, Rob should run Vampire Counts because, as I pointed out to him, you never lose a unit. They never die.
Hey, don't let everyone know my greatest weakness: losing a single unit.
Anything. You guys just hate it when my guys die. Like, okay, this makes a lot of sense now.
I played 3 games at the weekend. I didn't lose a model, a unit, and I was over the moon, which I thought was pretty great. Okay, all right. So that's all I wanted. So join us for the live stream. That's going to be super fun, and hopefully we get some incredible stuff for the old world. I think we will anyway, and I think this is going to be a very exciting time for us as a community. Looking forward to it.
I cannot wait, and we'll see you 7 o'clock Eastern, midnight GMT,
UK.
I guess now?
Midnight UK.
Midnight UK. Okay.
There is actually a graphic. There is a graphic I'll upload. So you
maybe even you could create an event on Twitch, and then we can link that in the didgeridoo.
Maybe. I've never been able to wear that out after all these years, so maybe in the future. Who knows?
All right. Producer Val will hop on it. All right, cool.
All right, so
great show.
Great show. Loads of energy. Thanks to everyone on the Squarebase Patreon. You're the best. We'll see you soon. Good. Bye.